This video is called Henry Cavill's Gamble Just Paid Off, and here's proof by FilmFlop. Now, I gotta say, I don't think it's paid off yet, and I'm very, very worried about the future from the recent news that I've heard. But let's get into it.
Almost $800 million in revenue, a 110% spike in licensing royalties, and a development studio that grew from 15 people in a room to over 600 employees, riding the success.
So that already makes me worried, because whenever a company reaches over 100 people, whenever anything in business reaches over 100 people working on something, it becomes worse and slower and filled with bureaucracy. So I'm already really worried about that. That sounds bad.
Success of one breakout hit that sold 7 million copies. This isn't some tech startup story. These are real massive numbers surrounding Warhammer 40,000 right now, today.
Which Warhammer 40K is one of the biggest sci-fi genre, or one of the biggest sci-fi IPs in the world right now. So, I mean, them making a lot of money off of a well-made video game doesn't really surprise me at all. Space Marine 2 was an amazing video game.
Games Workshop's licensing income.
And honestly, though, Space Marine 2, it hit that sweet spot of we hadn't gotten a good Gears of War game in like a decade. And then Space Marine 2 came out and was pretty much just a good Gears of War game with a 40K skin on it. So it was gonna sell buku bucks. It's like, now this is the thing about Warhammer. They never come up with their own ideas, right? We've got 40K, or Space Marine 2, which is just Gears of War. It's literally just Gears of War, but 40K. I mean, you can't argue that. And then we've got Vermintide, which is literally just Left 4 Dead, but Warhammer. Like, they really can't come up, or Total War Warhammer, which is literally just an offshoot of the Total War games. They cannot come up with their own ideas, but they're very, very good at using someone else's ideas and making them at least as good, if not better.
Has effectively doubled since Amazon and Henry Cavill entered the picture, and studios like Owlcat Games keep breaking records with hits like Rogue Trader, currently sitting at 86% positive reviews on Steam.
That's one game I definitely need to try soon, is Rogue Trader.
Universe isn't just expanding anymore, it's turning into a full-blown media juggernaut. Quick heads up before we start. If you want to stay on top of every leak,
by the way,
every contract breakdown...
Henry Cavill, if you're gonna play anybody, I mean, obviously Titus is made for you. That is Henry Cavill's face. I mean, it even looks like they just took his face and glued it onto another person's body with that neck thing right there.
And every update on Cavill's universe, hit subscribe right now and drop a like. It genuinely helps this channel grow. All right, let's get to question 1. I went through the comments on this channel, and honestly, the same 5 questions keep coming up over and over about Henry Cavill's Warhammer 40K show. So today we're doing something different.
Okay.
Instead of just another news update, we're answering the community directly. Consider this the fan manifesto response. 5 questions, 5 real answers based on everything we actually know so far, before we circle back to those numbers at the end. Quick heads up before we start. If you want more videos like this, hit subscribe now and
all right, so I'm going to say this again. If you ask for a subscribe or a like at the beginning of your video, you're a piece of shit loser and I hate you. Wait till the end. If I like the video if I like the video, I'll be there at the end. And then I'll like and subscribe it. If you beg for a like at the first minute and a half, that just proves you're trying to game the system and you have nothing of value to bring to the table.
Drop a like. It genuinely helps this channel keep going.
It genuinely doesn't. And this begging for likes thing is the stupidest bullshit I've ever heard of, and I hate it.
All right.
Bunch of fucking whores.
All right, let's get into it.
That's
Question
what these YouTubers
1.
are.
Where's the entry point for newcomers? A lot of you have said the same thing. 40K lore feels like the Bible on steroids. 10,000 years of history, hundreds of factions, and you're terrified of getting lost in episode 1.
Who the hell says that? I've never heard anybody say Warhammer feels like the Bible on steroids. That's a crazy thing to say.
1. So will the show introduce us through an ordinary person's eyes or throw us straight into 10-foot tall Primarchs? Here's the honest answer based on what we know. Everything points toward the grounded approach. Games Workshop and Cavill have both talked about respecting the scale of this universe, and practically every industry theory circulating right now, Eisenhorn, Space Hulk, and Imperial Guard story, shares one thing in common.
Okay.
They all start small and human. an inquisitor investigating a cult, a guardsman surviving a losing battle, a crew trapped on a derelict ship.
They don't all start that way. There's like 500 Warhammer stories. What is this guy talking about?
None of these start with Primarchs walking on screen in episode 1, and honestly, that's the smart move. You don't understand how terrifying a Space Marine is supposed to be until you've spent time with the ordinary humans who have zero chance against one.
I actually 100% agree with what he said there. That is actually a really good point. You have to see the regular humans first before you can see the Space Marines. Otherwise, they're just not as intense. Now everybody else is weak rather than the Space Marines being strong, you know? So I get that.
Marvel didn't open with Thanos. Warhammer probably won't open with a demigod either. Question 2, Amazon or Cavill? Who's really in control?
So I can answer this right away. Henry Cavill has near absolute control, except when it comes to the actual Warhammer creators themselves, who have been actively ruining Warhammer over the past 5 years. So whereas Henry Cavill might be a big fan and might have a lot of say, the final say goes to the people who continuously have changed the lore in the past 5 years. The lore that has been set up over 4 decades, they've just been changing because they feel like it. To fit the modern narrative, you know?
This is the fear that comes up in almost every single comment section. Nobody wants a repeat of Rings of Power or the creative fights that reportedly happened behind the scenes on The Witcher.
Yep.
Here's what we actually know, not speculation. Games Workshop confirmed there was a real contractual deadline, a full year ending in December 2024, for both companies to agree on creative guidelines or the entire deal.
So here's the thing. This show has been in pre-production for 2 years, and they just signed on a writer. They just signed on one of their lead writers this year, like a week ago. So the work is going extremely slowly. Now, I have a little list here because I wanted to actually talk about this new writer, Mike Flanagan, all right? So Mike Flanagan is a activist who is masquerading as a writer. Now, here's a few points I have about him. He inserted his wife into his projects as a lesbian character because he's so about inclusivity, right? That's all he cares about. In fact, he once said, this is the type of representation that is the most important to us as individuals, to fathers and citizens of the planet, when he was asked about queer representation. Okay, now, we don't need to shove all this into everything. It doesn't need to exist in every single thing. I have no problem with gay people, really, but we don't need to shove it into anything. But then we go past that, all right? So let's say you are really good. You're really big into the whole representation thing. You love that, all right? Well, then you should still hate Mike Flanagan because he said that his dad, and this is in his own words, was the first non-binary person in the entire world. And why he said that is because his mother called his dad a piece of shit, and that she would call him that or it for weeks on end, basically saying that his dad and non-binary people are bad people that aren't actually real. So he has no values. He really doesn't. He also said that he started studying movies and not reacting to them emotionally, meaning that he's more willing to push a message because there's no art in it to him. It's a platform to push ideology, and that's it. There's no emotion involved in what he's writing. And then on top of that, he supported Iowa Bill HSB 242, requiring state ID to say what sex they claim to be rather than what gender they actually are, which confuses police officers and things like that, and also to allow school children to see drag shows and learn gender theory in the elementary age. You don't teach people math before you teach them addition. This is crazy. Anyways, that's what I wanted to say about Mike Flanagan.
Would have collapsed and Games Workshop would have walked.
And by the way, Henry Cavill himself specifically pulled in this guy. He said so himself on his Twitter. He said he specifically pulled him in. So everybody who's got these high hopes for the Warhammer 40K show to not be the Warhammer 40 gay show, they should probably keep their hopes low.
Walked away with the license. That's not a soft promise. That's leverage written into the contract. And Cavill...
And remember, on top of this, I just saw the picture there, wow. On top of this, the guys in charge of Warhammer, the guys who made it, have been actively changing the lore to fit this modern narrative. So they've been making female custodies, even though there are already badass female warriors in Warhammer. Did not need to happen. They just changed the lore because they want to. They've been repeatedly trying to make the more demonic and evil factions seem like misunderstood good guys, and then at the same time making the Empire seem like they're also misunderstood good guys. The thing about Warhammer 40K is that nobody's really the good guy. That's kind of the point. So they're missing the entire point with all this new lore they're adding in. And honestly, I feel like they're really building up for the end times, and they're going to bring back the Emperor, and he's going to be the 5th Chaos God, and, oh, God, I don't know.
Cavill's own track record backs this up. He reportedly walked away from creative battles on The Witcher rather than be part of watering down source material he loved. So is the contract bulletproof enough to stop every possible change? Nobody can promise that. But there is real, confirmed contractual power sitting with Games Workshop here, not just Cavill's personal passion.
Yeah, that's the problem, actually. The problem is that Cavill doesn't have executive control, in my opinion. Because I guarantee he wouldn't have added in that dude. He wouldn't have added in Mike Flanagan if he had the full control. If he had full control, he wouldn't have done that, because he does respect the lore, and there's proof of that over and over again. The issue is that Games Workshop doesn't respect the lore, and they have final say. Not
Question
him.
3, horror or action? What
Both.
actually is this show? Mike Flanagan
Both.
joining the project split the comments right down the middle.
That's why it's called Grim Dark Fantasy. There he is, Mike Flanagan, the absolute scum of writing. This guy, they pulled on this neckbeard, fat, balding piece of shit who doesn't know how to write stuff and doesn't care about art at all. And they said, well, yeah, here, we'll give you the reins to one of the biggest fucking shows that's ever going to come out. Yeah, this is a mistake right here. Mark my words.
You are hyped for grim dark horror. Others are worried it means less epic combat. Here's the thing. This doesn't have to be either / or. Warhammer 40K has always blended cosmic horror with war. The warp itself is a horror concept, a dimension of pure nightmare energy where demons devour souls. Yeah. Genestealer infestations are body horror.
Is this an AI guy? Is this guy AI? Is this not a real video? Let me go back there.
Demons devour souls. Genestealer
Genestealer? He means gene stealers? This is an AI guy. This isn't a real voice. This is someone who typed this into an AI and had it read it for him. Because they don't understand words like that.
Stations are body horror. But
so like I have this little rap thing I do called Mad Q42. Way back in the day, I would AI out the songs before I rapped them myself. It was like a little rap thing I was doing for fun. And the AI would constantly say Matic 42 because it couldn't understand that Mad Q were two different things. It just kept saying Matic 42. That's the same thing that's happening here. Genestealer? Yeah. All right, AI.
Also has massive battles and space marines charging into impossible odds. Bringing in a horror-focused director more likely means the action finally...
Yeah, so he did not disclose that this is AI generated anywhere. Okay. Well,
he has real dread behind it instead of feeling like generic sci-fi violence. Think less epic spectacle from minute 1 and more slow burn tension that eventually explodes into war. Question 4. Who's Cavill actually playing, and does this need A-list stars? This is where the fandom gets the most creative. Everything from Tom Cruise as the Emperor to Anya Taylor-Joy as a Sister of Battle. Fun.
All right. If they put a bunch of famous people into the show, you will know right out of the gate that it's going to suck ass, because famous people won't sign up for a show that doesn't follow their exact ideology, and nobody in Hollywood stands for anything that's not incredibly cringe. So if they pull in real famous actors, like more than 2 of them, then the show is fucked out of the gate.
To imagine, but worth remembering, none of these casting rumors have any real confirmation behind them, and a lot of them trace back to AI-generated content farms rather than actual reporting. As for what Cavill himself should play,
funny for this guy to call out AI content farms when he himself is one.
Flashy Primarch role would grab headlines, no doubt. But a grounded character like Eisenhorn gives the show room to build a real story with moral complexity and season-over-season growth. And based on an older interview where...
George Lucas had the right idea with what he did. He would always pull in unknown actors, new people to come and do his projects, because he knew that an unknown actor won't bring their ego into it. An unknown actor will just do what they're told. A known actor will bring their ego in. They won't do anything that disagrees with the image they're trying to present.
Cavill was asked directly about playing Eisenhorn. He didn't jump at it. He paused and talked about not wanting to lock himself out of playing a Primarch or Captain General down the line.
Yeah, I could definitely... I don't think I could see him being Rabute Gilliman, but I could definitely see him being a Primarch, for sure.
That hesitation tells you he's thinking like a producer weighing the whole franchise. As for needing A-list names like Cruz, probably not.
Yeah.
Warhammer's
Hopefully
strength
not.
has always been its world, not celebrity wattage.
Yes.
Question 5. Is a $150 million budget actually enough? Rings of Power's first season reportedly cost roughly 3 times that amount, and plenty of viewers still complained about inconsistent effects.
Look, it's not the money that was doing that. It's the fact that the showrunners have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to run a show. It has nothing to do with the budget with the Rings of Power. They don't respect the lore.
So the honest answer is money alone doesn't solve this problem. Execution does. A Space Hulk story or an Inquisitor investigation doesn't need city-sized battles on screen simultaneously. It needs incredible practical suits, strong lighting, and tight direction. The same approach that...
If you don't have giant fucking battles in Warhammer 40k the show, then you've made it wrong. You've made it incorrectly. Warhammer 40k, at its very core, is a war game. Okay? So if you don't have war happening in your war game TV show, then you've made it incorrectly.
Made Alien...
If you make it, it's just Inquisitors, it's just a little small localized story, well then it's not a 40k fucking show, is it? No.
Terrifying on a fraction of a modern blockbuster's budget. Save the massive...
See, and all right, I'm pausing a lot, but Gotrek and Felix, the book series, did this extremely well, where it was localized to these 2 dudes who were going around and doing other stuff in the world, and it wasn't always huge, but there were giant battles, because, again, Warhammer is a war game. It's in the fucking name. But then on top of that, they would go around all the different places, and like at one part they're with the humans in Stirland, or Weissenland and Uln, I mean. Another place they're on the Border Princes. They go to the Dwarven Empire. They go to all these different places because that's how they do it. But they never shy away from the giant battles. They never shy away from the fact that it is Warhammer and it is grim dark. People die. People get murdered. People get disease. Entire towns get destroyed.
CGI, for once the tone's already proven. All right, that's the 5 questions answered. But before we wrap up, I want to show you something that puts all of this into perspective because it proves something important. This franchise isn't waiting around for the TV show to blow up. It's already exploding right now in a completely different medium. There's a studio called Owlcat Games. You might know them from Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, released back in 2023, which a lot of people...
Look, all right, and I've heard Rogue Trader's a really good game, but here's my thing. If you don't have full voice acting in the stories in the year 2026, then it's not a good game. If I have to read your script and you don't have voice actors, then it's literally a bad game. That's how I feel. I'm so sick of these CRPGs that are coming out. Like, yeah, 20 years ago, they couldn't fit full voice lines on Baldur's Gate. They could have some voice lines. But nowadays, if you come out with one of these games and you don't have voice acting, voice actors don't cost a lot. They're pretty much the lowest paid people in the entire entertainment industry. So to get voice actors on this would cost you essentially nothing. Even bad voice actors are better than none. I'm so sick of this thing where it's like, oh, you're playing a CRPG, so you got to read the whole game. Well, guess what? I'm just not going to play it. This is why I haven't played Rogue Trader. Is because I'm not here to read books. I'm here to play a game. If I wanted to read a book, like I said, I'd pick up Gotrek and Felix.
Consider one of the best video games ever made in this universe, often compared directly to Baldur's Gate 3 for the sheer depth of its
100% an AI that's reading the script.
Choices and consequences.
Baldur's Gate 3. That means that he tried to type in Baldur's and it literally couldn't say it right so many times that he put ball and then space dur.
Consequences. Here's the wild part. Owlcat started as a 15-person team. Today, they've grown into a full 600-person studio, and they confirmed they're working on 2 massive projects simultaneously.
That's bad. Anytime a video game company reaches over 100 people, they release bad games every single time.
A new Warhammer 40K RPG called Dark Heresy, which leans into the Inquisitor fantasy.
What is
basically
wrong with
playing
this?
as an-
Dude, if you're gonna make an AI generated video, at least fucking make sure that it talks right. What is wrong with this?
Imperial detective hunting heresy across the Imperium, and a completely separate action RPG based on The Expanse, built in Unreal Engine 5 with a third-person cinematic style closer to Mass Effect than their usual isometric games. Rogue Trader itself currently sits at 86% positive reviews on Steam from nearly 19,000 ratings.
That's pretty high.
A genuine hit by any measure. Here's why this matters for everything we just talked about. The studio's creative director openly said that Warhammer 40K as a franchise has never been more popular than it is right now. And he's not just talking about the TV show.
Yeah.
Rogue Trader brought a massive wave of new fans into the tabletop hobby and the wider lore. Space Marine 2 pushed 40K video.
I'm not gonna lie. I think that the most growth that has happened from 40K is actually from the YouTubers that have been putting out like 40K lore videos. That's the way I got into 40K. I was looking up Warhammer Fantasy lore and I found 40K lore and I was like, oh, this is fucking good. This is really good. So I don't know. I don't know anybody actually that got into Warhammer over the past 5 years that got into 40K because of the video games. Besides for maybe Space Marine 2. Rogue Trader, I don't feel like that brought in new people to the universe. I feel like it just brought in the existing fans or people that came over from lore videos and Space Marine 2.
Games to a level nobody expected. And now you've got Henry Cavill's series adding even more mainstream attention on top of all of that. It's not one project carrying the franchise. It's several different projects across games, tabletop, and TV, all building momentum at the same time.
That's extremely worrying. Like I can't think of a single example of a company doing this and it working out. Of them building a multimedia empire all at the same time and then it working out, especially whenever, like, I don't know, it's just like, it's like the Star Wars thing, you know? George Lucas isn't involved anymore and then it just all goes to shit. Well, I don't think the original creator of Warhammer is involved anymore either, and look at where it's going.
Each one feeding new fans into the others. So even with the show itself still years away, this is genuinely one of the best possible moments to be a Warhammer fan. The universe is expanding on every front, and honestly, that kind of cross-medium momentum is exactly the environment that makes studios and networks even more confident about betting big on a flagship live-action series.
I guess.
Dark Heresy, leaning into that Inquisitor fantasy we've been talking about all video, is honestly a fun coincidence too. It's basically the exact story structure a lot of us think the TV show should open with.
What? No, dude. Like, basically, I don't know, maybe, but like, I don't know. I'm gonna say with this FilmFlop guy, first of all, not a guy. It's an AI voice for sure, 100%, and he did not disclose it. So automatically bad person. Second of all, most of the points he made in this video are either just wrong or incredibly stupid. I don't know. This guy, FilmFlop, not a fan, not gonna like and subscribe, especially because he begged for likes and subscribes at the beginning of his AI-generated video and didn't actually bring up any real points and just kind of fluffed Warhammer. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a Creative Assembly run channel that they just have an AI voice on, honestly.